It's a snowy Saturday here in Syracuse, New York, and a beautiful one for college basketball inside the Carrier Dome. It's the Syracuse Orange playing host to the number 16th ranked Virginia Tech Hokies. I'm Giovanni Heater alongside Kyle Marchak. How's everybody doing this evening?
I'm having a blast tonight, and thank you for having me on.
Of course, Marchak. So tonight, a great game for both teams. Virginia Tech really trying to prove themselves to be one of the dominant forces in the Atlantic Coast Conference. They're right about the 3 spot right now with 2 teams ahead of them at this point. One of them being their rivals, the Virginia Cavaliers. The other, the Florida State Seminoles. And Syracuse, on the other hand, coming off of a great victory over the Miami Hurricanes earlier this week and really trying to get back into a rhythm and winning basketball games.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a great matchup. And obviously, you mentioned Virginia Tech, a team that is really making a statement in the ACC, but not to mention really a team that's making a statement in college basketball. You could argue that this is a very dynamic, athletic squad, and really hard to ignore some of the faces on this team. Jalen Cone, a really successful guard thus far, and really 3 3-pointers per game. Just another statistic to look at. Very dynamic squad.
Yeah, he leads the ACC in shooting, Kyle, but you mentioned it earlier before the broadcast. This is an extremely well-rounded basketball team that the Orange are going up against today. They have guys that can play down low on the inside. They have guys that can shoot the ball, and there's a lot of talent. So who would be the keys to winning today if you're the Virginia Tech Hokies?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's funny because both squads, maybe with varying levels of success thus far in the season, but really similar in the way that they score. They both lean on their main guys, their guys on the inside. For Syracuse, of course, it's Quincy Guerrier. He's been the face of the game and really making a case for most improved in the ACC. 16.7 points per game, 9.7 rebounds per game. So that dude is almost averaging a double-double. And similarly with VTech, Keve Aluma is really a successful face on the inside. Arguably their center, although he's listed as a forward, 14.8 points per game and 7.3 rebounds. So also on the cusp of that double-double figures. He's great in the post and a guy that's really fun to watch. I make this comp far too often with different players, but Pascal Siakam is something I see in him. The way he spins and really finishes at the hoop despite not being a guard-esque type of players is very fun to watch. So definitely a bunch of different keys to the game for them to look at.
Now for Syracuse, 2 of the big breakout players this season have been Kadary Richmond the entire way, right? And a lot of people called for him to be in the starting lineup. Tonight, your starting lineup features Joe Girard at the top and then Buddy Boeheim at the 2. The 3 will be Alan Griffin. The 4 will be Quincy Guerrier, and the 5, Marek Dolezaj. But Jesse Edwards played fantastic basketball in his last go-around against Miami. Was a huge part of why Syracuse won that game, especially with Dolezaj in foul trouble. Really played the best that Syracuse fans have seen him throughout his entire career. Can you just address that a little bit, and how do you think that can play into today's factors?
Yeah, 100%. And, one of my keys to the game for VTech is penetration. And it's not that I don't think they can do it. It's that I stress that they should in order to have success on the offensive side of the court. Keve Aluma, a guy who plays so well in the post and finishes so well at the rim, if he continues to do that all game and really, as a matter of fact, doesn't worry about the 3-point line at all, which I imagine he doesn't anyways with his playing style, he'll find success against guys like Marek Dolezaj and Jesse Edwards, both guys who are a little bit small at their position. And that's the thing about Jesse Edwards. He played outside of himself in that last game. Marek Dolezaj, a guy who constantly gets into foul trouble, of course, a person maybe who struggles defensively at the center position because he really isn't a true center if we're going to get technical. With that being said, Edwards, a guy who played a little bit larger than himself and more aggressive than usual, and really the best performance we've seen from him in a Syracuse uniform.
Absolutely. 7 points, 8 rebounds last go around for Jesse Edwards. I mentioned the starting lineup for Syracuse. Virginia Tech's keys to the game, we talked about it, is try and get penetration on the inside and hit some threes. For Syracuse, it's getting guys to contribute off the bench like they've done all year. The opening tip, and it goes to the Orange. Buddy Boeheim pulls it down, gives it back to Joe Girard, and just like that, we're underway inside the Carrier Dome on a beautiful Saturday for ACC college hoops here on Orange Heat. It's Marek Dolezaj with a spin move and an easy deuce. It's 2-0 Syracuse as we begin the ball game. 19:39 left to go on the game clock for the first half of action, and that was the first possession, a good one for Syracuse. Virginia Tech sharing the ball well. Jalen Cone running it up at the top over to Mutz. Now Wabisa Bede Back to Mutz on the left side. Pass to the inside. Kavialuma, kick out. Three-pointer is money. From the top of the key, Virginia Tech gets on the board just like that, and it was a big-time shot out of Naheem Aline. He does it so well for this squad, Marchak.
Yeah, that was a really crisp shot. A guy who seems really comfortable at the three-point line. You have to mention Beatty, a guy who's not afraid to feed the big dogs, but they're kicking it back out.
A drive here from Alan Griffin over to Dolezaj, a pump fake from the free throw line, a spin on Aluma, missed it all. Guerrier an offensive rebound, and he puts it up and in. So a big rebound for Quincy Guerrier, able to get a couple of second chance points for Syracuse, and the lead back to the Orange, 4-3, with 18.5 to play here in the first half. Tyrese Radford, top of the key, into Aluma, left side. Now a drive and a shot is off the mark for Aline, stretches out for his own rebound. Right side corner, it's Wabisa Beatty. Back to Aline at the top. He's running the point guard position right now, it looks like, for the Hokies rather than Beatty. Over to Aline, three-pointer from the right wing, and he's 2 for 2 tonight, Marchak, from that three-point stroke. 6-4 is the lead for the Hokies. 18-11 left to play, and he's crisp with that jumper.
Yeah, right off the bat, they're stretching that 2-3 zone and really preventing it from really doing what the job is of that 2-3 zone, which is preventing that inside shot. And instead, they're going to that three-point shot. And if they continue to lean on that, they might have success tonight.
Hey, that's what Syracuse wants to do, right? Make you take the toughest shot to make in basketball. But if the Hokies shoot like that, when you have Jalen Cone and Aline in the ball game, they're two of the best to do it in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Dolezaj at the top. Over to Boeheim. 11 seconds now on the shot clock for Syracuse. Alan Griffin, a pump fake and a drive from the left side. Loses control of the ball. Able to pick it up, but it goes along the baseline out of bounds. That's a turnover for Alan Griffin and the Syracuse Orange as the Hokies lead at 6-4, and Coach Boeheim doesn't look too pleased.
Yeah, obviously he runs a tight ship, and he'd like to see a more controlled performance out of his forward right there. Obviously a younger face in this team, but sometimes a little bit jumpy out there.
Beatty with a deep free three from the right side. He was wide open. It was off the rim. Dolezaj tried to grab the rebound, and it goes off of his hands across the baseline out of bounds. So the Hokies will keep it, and they get a fresh 20 on the shot clock as well. Kavialuma to inbound for Virginia Tech. As everyone moves towards the ball, it's a high pass up to Wabisa Beatty at the top of the key. Over to Tyrese Radford on the right side. Back to Naheem Aline. Radford on the right. Tight defense by Syracuse. Aluma, a deep three from the right corner. That one's off the mark. Missed it all. Not his strong suit. Aline gets his three-pointer blocked by Syracuse. It was Alan Griffin, and now the Orange moving quickly. Girard elects to slow things down a little bit here. The Orange trails 6-4 with 17 minutes to go. Girard, isolation drive, kick out. Boeheim, left side three, rattled around, no good. Almost hit from that left corner. Off the mark it was, and here come the Hokies. A drive and a great defensive stop again for Alan Griffin and Syracuse as Aleem was rejected for the second time, this time inside the paint. Girard a drive, kick back out Boeheim. Now it's back to Alan Griffin, left side, off the back rim and out. Guerrier offensive rebound, and we'll have a foul on the floor. So Syracuse will keep the possession. Foul on the floor against Tyrese Radford. What a series of events there, Marchak.
Yeah, it sounds like you're having a little bit of trouble keeping up, and honestly, so am I. Back and forth thus far, and you have to note, Syracuse listed as the 1-point favorite, so you can expect this game to stay like this all night.
Interesting that the Orange are listed as the favorite. I get it's a home game, but you're hosting the number 16th ranked Virginia Tech Hokies in this battle as Boeheim gets this dribble stolen away from Aline, and the Hokies moving quickly up the court. Tyrese Radford, a cut to the inside for Mutz, and it was taken away by Guerrier. So here comes Syracuse once again. Girard at the top. And he's trying to get that penetration as he steps back. Lets a three fly early in the shot clock. Off the mark. Rebounded by Tyrese Radford. And now here are the Hokies. Radford, a crazy pass to the left side. Just able to get there was Aline. Off to Beatty. Radford a drive. Kicks it to Mutz on the interior. Mutz gets his shot blocked by Alan Griffin, but there's a foul called against Griffin on the floor. So Mutz will shoot 2 for the Hokies when we come back. Timeout on the floor for TV purposes, and Virginia Tech leading it 6-4 over the Orange with 15:56 left to go in the first half. Kyle, it's been a pretty even game throughout, and great defense for both squads, I must add.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, I said one of the keys to the game for VTech is really getting that penetration and a consistent defensive effort. You noticed in their loss to Louisville, some of the guys seem to fall asleep on one of those quicker guards in Louisville. Obviously, a team that is not afraid to also be dynamic on the offensive side of the court. With that being said, Virginia Tech, a team that has looked really sharp on the inside thus far defensively, and vice versa for Syracuse as well. So that's obviously good to see. If Virginia Tech continues to penetrate, perhaps the foul trouble will come for Syracuse. It seems like it always does.
Yeah, we have a question here. Thoughts on the active defense? I think Syracuse is playing great defense considering what Virginia Tech has the capability to do on the inside. A couple of big blocks for Alan Griffin on back-to-back possessions, streaking out at balls. I mean, it makes you wonder what'll happen once Kadary Richmond pops into the game for Syracuse at some point off the bench. He leads the ACC in steals per game. The other day, he had a handful of them, 6 to be exact, as well as 8 assists. So what he brings to Syracuse off the bench is nothing short of spectacular. Excited to see when they bring in Kadary Richmond. But right now, the Orange are playing good with what they have.
Yeah, absolutely. Kadary Richmond, a face that's so exciting to see off the bench for Syracuse. And of course, you mentioned it before, kind of a kid that's been called to really get that starting spot over Girard. But really today, one thing to notice for Syracuse is perhaps Virginia Tech getting a little bit more run defensively than they expected, as Girard, although not with the intent of scoring, is driving a little more often than usual right off the bat. So him looking more dynamic than usual is certainly exciting for Syracuse's offensive production. Their backcourt performance is one of my keys to the game for sure. And of course, their shot selections look a little bit sharper as well, though Girard will continue to throw up those 3-pointers throughout the game.
How about this Hokies squad, though? Mike Young, second-year head coach for the Virginia Tech Hokies out of Wofford, actually brings Keve Aluma with him, who's one of the best players in the Atlantic Coast Conference down low, brings him from Wofford. Had a fantastic game against Villanova earlier in the season when they knocked off the number 3 ranked Wildcats inside the college basketball Bubbleville, so to speak, at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. But Mike Young just really bringing a different energy to this basketball program at Virginia Tech. And they've seen a lot of success so far this season. Wins over 3 ranked teams. They took down, as I said, Villanova. They took down Clemson. At the time, they were ranked highly. They also took down the Duke Blue Devils. So the Hokies are on quite a roll.
Yeah, I mean, they're 3 for 3 against ranked teams, so that really tells you about how solid this squad is. Keve Aluma brought over with this coach. You have to imagine how much that chemistry means to him. And of course, Buddy Boeheim, who is related directly to his father, the coach of Syracuse. Everyone knows the story. Jim Boeheim, a guy who runs a tight ship, and you have to imagine that chemistry is there too.
Absolutely. Justin Mutz is at the free throw line for the Hokies. First free throw's off the mark. Second one is good. So the lead stretches 7-4, 15:53 and counting left to go in the ball game. Still a 1-possession game for Syracuse. Virginia Tech's 2 for 7 in field goals. Syracuse is 2 for 6. Again, it's been a defensive battle throughout so far. Same as the starting lineup. Alan Griffin lets the 3 fly from the left side, and off the mark it goes. Syracuse still can't really get that lid off the rim so far. Just 4 points tonight, and they're all from the inside. Here's Virginia Tech now. Keve Aluma on the inside. Aleem, a deep 3 from the top of the key, and it hits home. 10-4 now the lead for the Hokies as Aleem flexes his muscles. 15:13 left to go on the clock. The Orange find themselves in a 6-point hole, but here's Quincy Guerrier. A spin move going up against Justin Mutz. Great defense by Mutz. But Guerrier is able to draw a foul here. It'll be 2 free throws at the charity stripe for the sophomore out of Quebec, Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the name of his game for sure. If he's getting a really good defensive effort on the inside, he's a guy who likes to draw fouls for sure. So pump fakes, all that stuff. And of course, forcing up that shot nonetheless, but draws the foul. A man of routine there as you see him getting those ghost high fives in that free throw, but certainly an exciting guy on the inside and sometimes the outside too for Syracuse's offense. Very dynamic guy.
Mutz will check out for Virginia Tech, and Beatty will do the same. So some new faces in now for the Hokies, and most notably Hunter Couture running the point. Excuse me. And here comes Virginia Tech. See, this is why we need a cough button, Marchak, like the pros have. They have a cough button. They literally just turn off their audio. Pass to the inside. Keve Aluma can't get the 2 to go. A tough rebound for Alan Griffin. Aluma swatted away for a moment. and Syracuse was able to pick it back up. Here's Boeheim, a pass to the inside. Dolezaj trying to get a move on a lean. Great defense, and the floater's up, no good, but what an athletic play out of Alan Griffin to come in with the putback and the foul. That's an and one deuce for Syracuse, and he's got a chance to make it a 3-point play at the line.
And that's a huge hustle play and something you can expect out of an athletic guy like Griffin all night.
Absolutely. And as they take another look at it, I guess they're going to say no foul. The ref definitely blew his whistle, put his hand up in accordance to a foul, but the refs must have talked about it, taking the foul away. Nonetheless, it is a bucket for Syracuse, 10-6. Now the lead stays for Virginia Tech as the Hokies move the ball. And again, a bunch of new faces in here. Hunter Couture, Jalen Cone in the ball game as well. Couture a dish to the inside, back to Couture at the top. A deep three, and off the mark it goes. Nearly a tap in that time down low for Keve Aluma, but instead it's Joe Girard with the basketball for Syracuse. Pass to Dolezaj, cutting to the hoop. Dolezaj a floater, and that deuce falls. 10-8. The lead for Virginia Tech. Syracuse starting to close this gap a little bit. 13:58 left here on the clock.
Yeah, and how about that defensive stand right there by Syracuse? You see Girard rotating out, in and out from the paint and getting in front of Alene's face, who's a guy who, for some reason tonight, is burning hot from the three-point line. Mind you, Guerrier rotating well in the backcourt as well. So what a defensive stand for Syracuse right there, starting to get in the flow of things.
Yeah, they were trying to find David Nguyen down low, a freshman out of the Netherlands, which is actually where Jesse Edwards is from for Syracuse. 6'9", 205-pound freshman forward in for Virginia Tech right now down low, and Syracuse was all over it. But here's Nguyen trying to dunk it home, and he missed it. Syracuse had good defense out of Dolezaj. Rebound Girard, and here come the Orange. Guerrier, deep three, left wing, off the mark. Griffin comes in with the putback slam. And he's having himself a day inside the dome. 10-all, 13:26 left to go. And that was a big play out of Alan Griffin, Marchak.
And what did I say? Expect to see that all night. Super athletic forward, a guy who's not afraid to range up for those rebounds, a huge hustle play.
And here he is again with a swat, sending it all the way into the rafters of the Carrier Dome. Alan Griffin is feeling himself right now, and he's playing with a lot of emotion and intensity on the court.
If you're an NBA fan, that is like Derrick Jones Jr. type hops right there. He got way up. Huge block right there.
Jalen Cone, a deep three. This one off the back rim and out. Keve Aluma able to pull down the offensive rebound. Surprisingly, Syracuse winning in that category right now as Aluma lost handle of it. Girard a steal. Boeheim passing it to a cutting Guerrier and a slam and a foul. Oh my goodness, Marchak. That's back-to-back dunks for the Syracuse Orange as Guerrier getting up this time.
Yeah, I think we might have signed up for a little bit more than we can handle, Gio. Back and forth this game is it looks like a tennis match going up and down the court like this. And really, I think this is going to be close all night now that Syracuse has kind of found their rhythm, and Guerrier getting the separation right there. Huge slam home.
And he's at the charity stripe now for an opportunity to make it a 3-point play. The free throw falls, and Syracuse, what a swing, trailing by as much as 6, now with a 13-10 lead, under 13 minutes to play. It's a 9-0 run for the Syracuse Orange right now. Tyrese Radford, a kick to the right side. Jalen Cone, Couture at the top. Aline driving, dishes it off to Aluma, who tried to dunk it home and actually missed it off the back of the rim. He was untouched, and Syracuse a rebound. And Virginia Tech now struggling. That's a couple of dunks that they've simply missed.
That might have been a hand they got in there. Nonetheless, a good defensive effort by Syracuse, but they have to start seeing the big man getting fed right there. They have to see that play early.
Guerrier down low, tries to put one up over Tyrese Radford. It was good defense. Guerrier with a height advantage, and grabbing the rebound is Alan Griffin. A pass is tipped away by Hunter Couture. Out of bounds it'll go. Syracuse will keep the possession. 16 seconds left to go on a fresh shot clock from just 4 seconds ago. 12:08 left in the first half. Syracuse leads it 13-10, trying to make it a 2-possession ball game are the Orange. Joe Girard running the point. Haven't seen not Quincy Guerrier, Kadary Richmond yet today. Look at that deuce from Joe Girard. Just the spin move and the fadeaway. That's clean basketball, Marchak.
Yeah, like I said, looking more dynamic than usual, and that'll certainly help Syracuse's cause tonight.
It's a 15-10 lead for the Orange. 11:41 left to go in the first half of action here inside the Carrier Dome. Jalen Cone on the left wing. Back to Aline at the top. Keve Aluma on the inside. Aline a three. Top of the key, and that stroke is pure. Nothing but net for Naheem Aline at the top of the key. And he draws this thing back to a 2-point ball game. 15-13 the lead for Syracuse. 11:17 left to go on the clock. Guerrier to a cutting Alan Griffin, who's stopped by Hunter Couture. Griffin a spin move, a floater from the ACC logo, off the mark, but a foul. And it looks like it's going to be an off-the-ball foul against Marek Dolezaj possibly here. We'll see what the call is. Both teams head to the bench here. And again, we don't have the audio, so we don't get the exact calls right now. But as soon as we get back to the game, we'll know what went down. TV timeout on the floor. It was either against Dolezaj down low off the ball or against a Hokie down low. So we'll see what happens, Kyle. But Syracuse really turning this basketball game around for the better for the Orange. And back-to-back dunks on the inside. They're not just depending on the three-point shot, a couple of deep twos, but they're really getting the ball inside. They're penetrating on a good defensive Hokie squad.
Yeah, nonetheless, I mean, it feels like a new look despite the same starting lineup, really just because Joe Girard has looked far more dynamic right off the bat than usual, a guy who really refuses to drive and so far has driven a ton, not really to the rim, but to kick the ball out and make plays happen. He's been rotating well off of that high screen from Guerrier and Dolezaj to make other playmaking decisions, and so he's looked really solid tonight. And on the defensive side of the ball, you have to remember, these guys are penetrating well, but they're really leaning more on a lean from the three-point line. So you have to make sure that you're defending that top of the key because he's been hot from there all night.
And we get a comment here from DJ. Thanks so much for going ahead and letting us know it's a foul against Virginia Tech. I believe it was off the ball on Marek Dolezaj. Syracuse not in the bonus, so that will mean the Orange likely to get the possession back here. Again, just want to address this. We can't show the game, unfortunately. A lot of different stuff that goes into that as far as copyright and everything like that. So we don't have the capability to show the game, but we hope you stick around and tune in for this radio-style broadcast that we do each Syracuse basketball and football game, as well as some Buffalo Bills and basically anything that looks exciting. We've even indulged in some boxing as well. So, Marchak, you touched on it. You said that Naheem Aline is really what they're leaning on at the top of that arc for Virginia Tech offensively. And though it hasn't necessarily been great, he's hitting his shots. And Naheem's really what's keeping them in this game right now, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to question exactly what the problem is on the inside. Perhaps it is the defensive effort that's hindering them from really trying to get the ball to the inside. You would have to imagine the way that they're playing right now is very one-dimensional. They kick into the middle and then they rotate off the ball there and try to get it to their big man on the inside, who's usually waiting right on the backcourt line. So with that being said, kind of predictable on the offensive side of the ball for Virginia Tech.
An inbound here for Syracuse. That's Kadary Richmond back into the game for the Orange, and he's running the point guard position. Girard out. A look that Syracuse liked was actually Girard coming off the ball, playing that two-guard spot. A drive by Boeheim, a floater from just inside the paint, right outside that restricted area, and he gets it to fall. 17-13 now, a 4-point lead for Syracuse. 10:46 left to go here in the first half. Virginia Tech looking for a response. Jalen Cone, a pump fake. Hunter Couture, a three from the left side, and that is money. Hunter Couture 1 for 1 now on the day, and he makes it a 1-point ball game inside the Dome. 10.5 minutes to go. Kadary Richmond at the top of the key running the point, and a foul off the ball here. It'll go against Justin Mutz on Marek Dolezaj.
Yeah, so Virginia Tech just kind of looking like the sloppier team thus far on the defensive end of the court. Obviously Syracuse looking more dynamic than usual, so perhaps a little dumbfounded by the fact that their guards are really penetrating more than usual, and so the defensive effort will have to definitely pick up for sure.
And Buddy Boeheim now at the free throw line for a 1-and-1 as Syracuse is in the bonus. I'm wondering why Boeheim's the one at the line. Now switching with Dolezaj. I was going to say, I don't know if Syracuse is trying to pull a fast one, but Dolezaj was definitely the one to be fouled here. They'll also take a look at an official review, possibly looking at some flagrant or something like that. No, they were actually looking at who should be shooting, and they just signaled 2-1. That's Marek Dolezaj wearing number 21 in white. Syracuse, the all-white uniforms, classic home jerseys, the white-on-white combination. Virginia Tech wearing the road maroon, both shorts and jerseys, with white piping and orange letters and numbers. I like those Virginia Tech uniforms, Marchak. I'm not going to lie. They look pretty good as Dolezaj hits his first free throw.
Yeah, I mean, you have to respect the maroon. Me being a Phillies fan in baseball, I've always seemed to like that color. But as a broadcaster, I'll have to separate from my teams, especially right now.
Absolutely. And for those that don't know, this is a little bit of a special game for Marchak and I, as Virginia Tech and Syracuse, two of our top possible destinations for next year in college, just to extend our broadcasting career and study at a prestigious university, and two of the best right here going at it on the court, and two of the best in the broadcast studio as well. So it's a little more meaningful for the two of us if we followed both of these teams along. Boeheim reaches out for his steal, gives it off. Kadary Richmond a drive, and he puts the two up off the mark, but tipped in by Alan Griffin. He's having himself one heck of a ball game. Syracuse, a 21-16 lead. 9:40 left to go here in the first half. Virginia Tech desperately needing a response as Syracuse starting to pull away with it a little bit. Beatty on the inside, kicks it out, a cutting Jalen Cone. Cone trying to find Couture, able to do so. Cone, a three from the right corner, rattled around, no good. Mutz tried to pull down a rebound. Offensive rebound by Tyrese Radford, and he's fouled by Alan Griffin. That's his second tonight.
Yeah, Alan Griffin with 2 fouls thus far, but really a promising look knowing that he's only 2 fouls deep, because really most of our forwards are guys who tend to fall into foul trouble very quickly. I think Dolezaj may have none or only one thus far, so that's also a promising look for Syracuse as well. As, like I said, foul trouble, something they have to worry about maybe even early on in the game as well.
Absolutely here, and Tyrese Radford at the free throw line for Virginia Tech, averaging over 12 points a game. First free throw off the mark, no good. Checking into the game now for the Orange in place of Quincy Guerrier. There he is, Marchak. Jesse Edwards. Everybody curious to see if he will elevate his play to that same level that the Orange saw him do against Miami. And it wasn't against just a pushover squad. They had a man, Brooks, down there who was standing at 7 foot, 245 pounds. It doesn't get more difficult to play against down low. And Jesse Edwards had a better game than him and even contained him throughout, as well as putting up points on him inside the paint. So really interesting to see how Jesse Edwards will contribute for Syracuse right here. Kadary Richmond off to Boeheim on the left side. Boeheim a drive, pull-up jumper from the right elbow off the mark. It's rebounded by Justin Mutz, and here's Virginia Tech as the Orange leading it 21-17. 9:04 left to go. This one thrown away by Couture, but it was off the fingertips of Kadary Richmond. So Virginia Tech keeps the possession alive. Naheem Aline, an inbound now to Hunter Couture at the top of the key. Tyrese Radford along the left side, back to Couture. Syracuse in that 2-3 zone have been very effective tonight. Radford on the inside, a jumper from the left elbow, and it rattled around, hung on the rim for about a second, and then it fell. So Virginia Tech makes it a 3-point ball game off the hands of Tyrese Radford, 21-19, 8:39 left to go. Richmond a drive and an offensive foul. It's Hunter Couture, the man to soak it. Richmond shaking his head. Boeheim not too pleased. And Virginia Tech gets the ball back here with under 8.5 to play.
Yeah, Couture with a good job. Maybe a little bit of theatrical effort right there, but certainly drew that foul. I think it's a nice play of really stepping in front of the very aggressive Kadary Richmond. So a good defensive stand right there.
Hunter Couture running the point now for Virginia Tech. Justin Mutz setting a screen on Kadary Richmond. Three-pointer from the right side. Jalen Cone off the mark. Rebounded by Tyrese Radford. Radford trying to get to the inside. Syracuse won't let him in there, but a foul on the floor against Joe Girard. And Mike Young really just pleading his case with the referees here. I think he wants some more fouls called. Syracuse playing a little physical, especially on the inside. And here's an inbound here now for the Hokies as Keve Aluma will check back into the game, and they're going to need him down low.
Yeah, I'd imagine now is a good time for Aluma to really start to pick it up, especially with Edwards on the inside. You'd imagine that the defensive effort will maybe weaken, but you'd like to think that because of Edwards' recent performance, he'll play outside of himself again, physically and mentally.
John Oyako was on the inside, a sophomore out of Nigeria, 6'10", 245-pound forward, and just couldn't get things done. Only a couple minutes of play. Aluma comes in his place, and that's a big offensive rebound for Keve, a foul against Kaderi Richmond, also going for the ball. That's a couple on Richmond now in the last few minutes. And some new looks again for Virginia Tech. It looks like Aluma back out of the game. And now checking in for the Hokies down low, it'll be David Nagasin again. 8:02 left to go in the first half of action. Syracuse a 21-19 lead. Virginia Tech trying to close that gap. Kick to the inside. Nagasin a 2, and that one is easy. Puts it up and over Jesse Edwards down low. And here comes Syracuse. We have ourselves a tied ball game inside the Carrier Dome. 7:44 left to go in the first half. Back and forth. Lead changes have been present tonight. Alan Griffin from the elbow. Gives it back to Girard. Girard lost the dribble. Reaching out for it was Jesse Edwards. And out of bounds it will go off the fingertips of Tyrese Radford. So Syracuse will keep this possession. And it looks like we have a TV timeout on the floor. So back and forth we go inside the dome. And we're all tied at 21, 7:32 left to go in this ball game, Marchak, in the first half. And it's been back and forth, but I'd still say Syracuse has had the advantage throughout.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. I mean, obviously right now, Virginia Tech beginning to find their rhythm and claw their way back. And one of my keys to the game, I've mentioned before, a consistent defensive effort out of VTech. And that was something that they didn't have in their losses against PSU and Louisville. And right now they've, begin to settle down and have a consistent defensive effort, especially against guys who are trying to drive right now, like Joe Girard, believe it or not. And so I'd like to see Girard create more space and perhaps rotate off that high screen and get shots to land. We'd like to see him create more space and perhaps drive to the rim more, and that'll probably, shake up the defense on the inside for VTech, and that would be a way for Syracuse to separate. For VTech, I'd imagine maybe getting a lean back out there to put up a little more shots and perhaps even drive back to the inside. You see Radford, a guy that they're rotating the ball through on the inside. Their ball movement has been excellent, but if they continue to do it maybe a little bit sharper, those passes get cleaned up a little bit, I'd imagine VTech would have a better time getting the ball to the rim.
Now, despite Syracuse's struggles this year, they've played really good defense down low against Virginia Tech, and they've gotten a lot of points in the paint. What has been the difference tonight for the Orange to really have a good performance inside that squared area where they typically have struggled throughout the longevity of this season?
Well, one thing to note for sure is obviously the dynamic effort of Alan Griffin and Quincy Guerrier, both guys who have landed huge blocks thus far, and really Aluma, a guy who's not playing to the top of his game right now, jammed by the rim, or perhaps maybe a hand got in there, but really just a super aggressive effort on the inside from our forwards and centers, and Quincy Guerrier and Alan Griffin. You'd like to think that Dolajai will pick up his effort as well, and that'll really ensure the fact that VTech will have to continue to lean on Aline, no pun intended, to get those 3-point shots to land.
Despite it all, we have ourselves a 21-21 tied ball game inside the dome. Under 7.5 to play as they show us the beautiful snowy Syracuse University campus. Alan Griffin, 4 points tonight, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks. Not necessarily the performance he's looking for offensively, but defensively, he's been fantastic for Syracuse, and they need him to do so. Sort of a non-factor in the last go-around with Miami.
Yeah, a guy that's really been a nice surprise this game. He's always been a well-rounded player on and off the bench, but obviously a guy who's been really earned his spot in the starting lineup at that 3 spot, a consistent effort from the wing. He's replaced Elijah Hughes' spot well, but not necessarily offensively, but really a nice surprise, like I said, on the defensive side of the court. He's had a couple huge blocks and rebounding like a machine right now. Him and Guerrier, both guys who are so aggressive to ensure that they box out and get that ball off the rim.
Here's Girard on the right side and inbound, and we're back to basketball with under 7.5 to play. Guerrier on the inside, a spin, a dish to Alan Griffin, and a shot clock violation against the Orange, it looks like. The shot clock was winding down, and 21 all we remain with 7:22 left to go here in the first half. Hunter Couture at the top for Virginia Tech running the show. Kick to the inside. Now it's Tyrese Radford, a three from the left wing, and it's good. Virginia Tech taking a 24-21 lead now over Syracuse with 7 minutes left to go here in the first half. The Orange looking for a response. Guerrier a drive, and he's able to get it up off the rim. No good. Rebounded by Naheem Aline. And a foul on the floor against Kadari Richmond. Marchak, that's his third foul already, and we still have 7 minutes to go in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, foul trouble is something we're always going to have to worry about, but not to mention that it seems like all the guys in the court are falling asleep for Syracuse right now. I was afraid that because VTech was clawing their way back, that they'll just continue to do so now that their defense has settled down, and it seems like it here. Alan Griffin, watching Tyrese Radford on the inside kick it back out and kind of fell asleep on that three-point shooter.
A deep cut to the inside for Virginia Tech and a slam home. David Nagusin wasn't going to miss it that time. Virginia Tech, a 5-point lead over the Orange, and Jim Boeheim wants to talk things over. 26-21, 6:46 left on the clock as we take a break inside the Carrier Dome. Marchak, Virginia Tech, just all of a sudden, this explosion of both offense and defense, not allowing anything for Syracuse down low, and a three-pointer for Tyrese Radford. Now a dunk on the inside for the Hokies, and they're out to a 5-point lead just like that. That's the kind of game we've had, back and forth, lead changes. Basketball is a game of runs, and that's on full display tonight.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. Basketball is a game of runs, and really VTech has had the better, more put-together runs right now. And really, over a longer length of time, they've had the same amount of success as Syracuse. So really stretching their offensive effort. They said it right at the bottom right there. Game of runs, Virginia Tech with a 7-0 run and Syracuse 11-0 recently. So, yeah, back and forth. Those are three, something runs right there that Syracuse and VTech have leaned on in order to go back and forth in this game. So I think it'll continue to be exciting as long as Syracuse makes an offensive change right here.
Tech started with a 10-0 run. Then it was a Syracuse 11-0 run, and now it's a 7-0 run again for the Hokies. I don't think I've ever seen that before in all of my watching basketball. They're not really exchanging buckets here. It's literally a game of runs. Guerrier on the inside, going up over the defender, gets this one off the rim, but he's fouled, so he will take a trip to the charity stripe. 2 free throws awaiting for Quincy Guerrier. It's the freshman David Nagusin, the guilty man on the foul for the Hokies. And you just have to wonder what the thought process is having a guy like him in there. He's a great player instead of Keve Aluma. Aluma, a couple of fouls early, but the Hokies really need him on the inside to be a force in this ball game against Syracuse because you mentioned it. They have to play to their strengths. They're good at doing that. Syracuse is not very good on the inside as Guerrier hits both of his free throws, and we have ourselves a 23-26 3-point ball game. Under 6.5 to play inside the dome. We're Virginia Tech now with the ball. Justin Mutz at the top of the key. Pass to a cutting Naheem Aline, a jumper from the ACC logo off the front rim and off. So Girard a rebound for Syracuse. A deep three, Joe Girard off the back rim. Dolezaj couldn't pull down the board. And a foul on the floor. It will stay right here. It's against Justin Mutz and the Virginia Tech Hokies. You have to question the shot selection there by Joe Girard. I mean, he wasn't even open. There's 5 seconds off the shot clock. We've talked about it all year, Marchak. That's a possession they need to hang on to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really kind of the first of that variant of shots that you've seen tonight from Girard, a guy who, as I mentioned, has been a pleasant surprise early on in this game, driving and kicking the ball out, has been a better playmaker yet. Right there has gone to his old ways and chucking up a 3-point shot, which he's supposed to be more efficient at, but not necessarily in recent times, although his 3-point shooting was fantastic against Miami. So you have to question exactly what he was thinking right there.
Dolezaj at the free throw line, it was a 1-for-1, and he hit the first, now he hits the second. So taking full advantage of that opportunity was Syracuse off the heels of Marek Dolezaj. And it's a 26-25 advantage still for Virginia Tech as we are just under 6 minutes to go here in the first half. Now checking into the game for the Hokies, 6'5", 185-pound freshman guard Darius Maddox in at the 2 spot. Wabisa Bede also in for Hunter Couture. Here's Naheem Aline, a drive back out to Wabisa Bede. Aline now on the right wing. Tight defense here from Buddy Boeheim. 4 seconds left in the shot clock. Virginia Tech has to go quickly. Pass to the inside. Justin Mutz That was a tough bucket on the interior, and Mutz had no problem kissing it off the glass. Virginia Tech back to a 3-point lead. What a play out of the Hokies, Marchak.
Yeah, it's a good use of that jump stop right there to kick the ball out to Beatty, who then found the rotating Aline, who cut it to the inside, and Mutz finished on the inside. So a great defensive effort by Syracuse, but Virginia Tech far more dynamic right there.
And here's Richmond on the other end of the court. A floater for Syracuse just past the free throw line. That one falls. And with under 5 minutes to play, the Orange back within one, 28-27. What a game we have both defensively and offensively inside the Carrier Dome. Naheem Aline, the tall guard, 6'4" for Virginia Tech running the point. Off to Maddox on the right side. Back to Aline, top of the key. Syracuse not letting any inside penetration with this 2-3 zone right now. Beatty on the inside, almost let a jumper go from the wing. Now it's a three-pointer off the mark for Maddox from the right side. Rebound, Buddy Boeheim. And 4.5 minutes to go. Syracuse a chance to take the lead with a 2 or a 3. Guerrier lets one fly from the left baseline. Off the mark, jumper no good. Rebounded by Naheem Aline. And here comes Virginia Tech as they hold that 1-point lead. Darius Maddox at the top, back to Aline. The Hokies not really moving much off the ball right now. A little bit stagnant. Will be Sabiti. Back to Maddox. Kick to Aluma on the inside who came to it. A floater from the ACC logo off the mark. Rebounded Dolezaj, and both teams are over in the last couple of minutes. A cutting Dolezaj off the pass from the freshman Canary Richmond. And the Orange now with a 1-point lead, 29-28. 3.5 minutes to play in this ball game, and back and forth we go, Marchak. We've said it all day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'd like to think it's back and forth, but maybe the statistics say otherwise with these game of runs. But of course, Syracuse a little bit more dynamic off the ball right now, and that certainly helped their offensive effort.
Here's Aline with a drive, and he's fouled on the floor. It's an opportunity for a 3-point play for the Hokies when they come back from a break. So just like that, when Syracuse gets a little bit of a momentum play, Virginia Tech's right there to make a bucket of their own. 30-29, 3:21 left to go in the first half. What a game we have inside the Dome, Marchak. We'll take a quick 30-second break, and we'll be right back here on Orange Heat. It's the Orange and the Hokies right here on Orange Heat. Here on, go ahead and head over to accessoryspot.com. That's accessoryspot.com and pick up your very own Orange Heat t-shirt, and you can represent, and everything helps us out because we're able to bring higher quality broadcasts and do so much more. So go ahead and pick up your very own Orange Heat shirt at accessoryspot.com. That's accessoryspot.com. Our proud sponsor, Accessory Spot. Now, we have a good game going on inside the Dome, and you said it's been a game of runs, but in the last couple of minutes, it has been a little bit back and forth. Mutz had a nice bucket on the inside a couple of minutes ago, and on the other end, it was a pass from Canary Richmond to a cutting Dolezaj, and now we have an N1 opportunity on the floor for the Hokies once again in the Aline. So, how does both teams look to finish strong as the half comes to a close as we're under 3.5 to play?
Yeah, well, I think the consistency on the defensive end of the court will be important for both squads. Obviously, VTech has kind of allowed that penetration to happen for Syracuse, which is certainly interesting to see as Syracuse, a team that tends to lean more on that three-point shot at times, although they seem to live and die by it for sure, whereas VTech, maybe the opposite. Syracuse needs to ensure that that three-point shot will not continue to land for him. Aline's been the face, but we see Cohen is obviously one of the better three-point shooters in the ACC, if not college basketball. So he's been hot from the three-point line. And as well for Hunter Couture, a guy who has really ran this offense tonight well, kind of unspoken of, but a guy who's not afraid to shoot the ball either. So the defensive end of the court will be important for both guys, making sure that they're not allowing that penetration, and for Syracuse rounding out to ensure that that three-point shot doesn't stay wide open.
Absolutely, Marchak. Now we got 3:21 left to go here inside the Dome. The Orange trail by 1 to Virginia Tech. And hey, if you're a Syracuse fan, you're hanging in there right now with the number 16th ranked team in the country. Now, we knew this team was good, but they finally are starting to figure things out down low, both offensively and defensively. And the Orange, proven at least in the first half, they can hang with anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to wonder exactly what ESPN knew that we didn't, saying that Syracuse is going to hang on for a 1-point win statistically. I'd like to think that it'll be a close game either way, whichever way it falls. So I'm glad that ESPN called it. This game's been back and forth all night, and I believe it'll stay that way going into the second half. But for now, 3 minutes to go. Let's see how Syracuse decides to capitalize in this possession right here.
And we're back to basketball inside the Dome. Under 3.5 minutes to play. Here's Kadary Richmond on the right side. Bodies up against Jalen Cone and gets the 2. Wow, what a bucket out of the freshman. Those two going at it all day so far, and it's a tied ball game, 31 all, under 3 minutes to play, Marchak. That was a big play out of Kadary Richmond, just using his size.
Yeah, Cone, a guy who really is a stingy defender, trying to draw that foul right there.
Cone, a three-pointer from the right wing. Off the mark, Guerrier, a one-handed rebound, and here comes Syracuse. Richmond a drive, going right back at Jalen Cone, and Cone turns him away this time around. Now it's Guerrier who takes one to the face, and a foul on the floor. On the ball it will be. Guerrier able to soak it, and Justin Mutz has another foul on the stat sheet.
Yeah, Guerrier, a guy who rotates so hard off that pivot foot right there, kind of really headbutting right into Jalen Mutz, who also a stingy defender, kind of right up on Guerrier, a guy who draws fouls so well in the paint.
32-31 now the lead as Guerrier hits the free throw. He's got 8 points, 3 rebounds tonight, and he's a double-double machine. I'd make the argument the most consistent player on the Syracuse basketball squad, having himself another game. Last time around, it was the first time he didn't have a double-double in like 4 consecutive games. So just interesting to see Quincy Guerrier really taking that leap from year 1 to year 2 for Syracuse. He's been a dominant force this year. 33-31 is the lead for the Orange as Guerrier hits both. Under 2.5 to play, and the Orange back with the lead. So back and forth we continue to go here inside the Dome. Hunter Couture on the inside. A kick to the middle. Back out to Jalen Cone. Now Naheem Aleem, a pump fake and a drive and a jumper from the right side near the baseline. Off the mark, Alan Griffin pulls it down, and here comes Syracuse, an opportunity to make this a 2-possession ball game. Boeheim, a crossover, deep 3. Oh my goodness. Buddy bullseye from downtown. Timeout, Mike Young. Syracuse has a 5-point lead just like that. 1:53 to play. That guy's a sniper, Marchak.
Whew. Yeah, I mean, one of our better 3-point shooters, right? And that kid feeling himself a little bit from the elbow. That's really his shot, and it has been all night. He'll continue to do that, hopefully, in the second half for Syracuse. And if he does, Syracuse might find themselves with that 1-point favorite, as ESPN once said. So Boeheim with a huge sidestep 3 right there. And if he continues to do that, VTech will definitely be in trouble, knowing that on the offensive side of the court, Syracuse diving to the inside and now having to worry about that 3-point shot. VTech certainly has their hands full right now.
Now, Syracuse and Virginia Tech played twice last season. Virginia Tech came to the Dome on a Tuesday night. I remember I was there. It was a 9 p.m. tip-off. Man, do I miss the Dome. And Virginia Tech took down Syracuse. And then the Orange went on the road and took down the Hokies at Castle Coliseum, and it was Buddy Boeheim leading the way in that game, over 20 points in the contest. He was elite from 3-point, and you see it again today. The Orange now on a 7-0 run, 7 unanswered points, and we go back to this being a game of runs, and they lead it by 5 as we're back to basketball here inside the Dome. 1:49 on the clock, and Kadary Richmond has his 3rd foul. I thought he had 3 already. I guess not. That's his 3rd. And he'll take a seat on the bench. Boeheim shaking his head. And Syracuse just looking to finish strong in this last minute and a half per se here, Marchak. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously really a battle of attrition for both these teams. You know, who's going to tire out defensively first? Because really on the offensive side of the ball, despite VTech leaning on that 3-point shot, has also been really dynamic on the offensive side of the court. And one thing I noticed is you have to wonder about the body language of Kadary Richmond on and off the court right now, obviously in foul trouble, but walking off the court, Boeheim certainly not happy with him.
Absolutely. Boeheim, a two-pointer, rolls around for a bit, a fadeaway from the left elbow hits. And it's worth mentioning that Hunter Couture took a trip to the charity stripe because he was in the bonus, an opportunity at a 1-1, hit the first, missed the second. So now the score, 38-32 with a minute and 27 seconds left. Virginia Tech to inbound. Couture running the point right now for the Hokies. The Orange with a 6-point lead. It's their biggest so far of the night. Left side, Jalen Cone, three-pointer from the wing, off the mark. Guerrier, a rebound for Syracuse. Up to Boeheim. The Orange slowing things down a little bit here. Here's Boeheim, a crossover, a spin move. And Naheem Aleem not really letting him get any penetration. This is what he does best. Spin move, jumper, rattle around, no good. Alan Griffin unable to get the rebound, but throwing it back into play was Hunter Couture. What an athletic save, but it's Syracuse able to come up with it. Buddy Boeheim was the only one around the ball. It looks like they're going to take a look and review this thing to see if Couture's foot was out of bounds, but nonetheless, they will just inbound it here for Syracuse. They talked about it for a moment. And Girard to inbound for the Orange. 52.6 on the clock, 38-32, Kyle. And both back and forth. Syracuse playing really well right now, dominating the closing of this half.
Yeah, Syracuse obviously in the middle of one of those 7-0 runs, and Dolezaj making an effort right there.
And it's not going to matter because there's a foul, it looks like, off the ball. The Orange in the double bonus, now 46.9. And it looks like Dolezaj actually the one heading to the free throw line, so the foul was on Dolezaj. First free throw for Merrick is up and good. Syracuse sending everybody back, not worrying about rebounding. Dolezaj, a response after going 0 for last game, now has 13 points, make that 14 and 4 rebounds. 40-32 is the lead by 8 for the Orange. As we begin to close the first half of action, 41 seconds left on the clock. Hunter Couture and the Hokies looking for a response. Jalen Cone now at the top of the key. Tight defense on this zone. Not any penetration so far for the Hokies in the last couple of minutes. Couture, deep three, off the front rim. No good. Alan Griffin trying to pull down the rebound and does. Moving quickly are the Orange. No shot clock. 21 seconds left here in the first half. The Orange lead it by 8. Back to Girard. And it looks like they're just going to bleed this thing down, maybe take one shot before the buzzer sounds. It's Boeheim on the left side. 7 seconds left. He'll ISO against Hunter Couture. Spin move. Floater from the ACC logo off the front rim. Alan Griffin tried to put it back up, and he's fouled. That's the last thing Virginia Tech wanted to do. And they'll say it's an offensive foul against Alan Griffin. And Boeheim looks certainly just as confused as you and I do, as well as Alan Griffin does.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're trying to call over the back or pushing for that rebound effort. Griffin, a guy who's been rebounding super aggressively tonight, but I can't imagine I really see anything right there. And the refereeing crew really, stingy all night, reviewing tons and tons of plays and really not reviewing the plays that we need to. Obviously, the foul calls will stay, and that's something you see often in ACC basketball, but maybe a little bit more than usual tonight.
Nonetheless, at the line for a 1-1 is Naheem Aleem as he hits his first, making it a 7-point ball game. And the Orange in a little bit of foul trouble here, Marchak. They really are. Aleem, second one, rattles around, falls home. So it's a 6-point game inside the Dome as Girard will just run out the rest of the clock, and both teams will head to the locker room. Not necessarily on the positive note we thought it would be just 10 seconds ago, but the Orange have a big lead at halftime, and it is a big lead considering you're hosting the number 16th ranked team in the country. An ACC battle inside the Dome, the Hokies and the Orange. The Orange leading it right now at halftime by a score of 32-40. 34-40, rather. ESPN didn't update it just right away with 1 second still on the clock and then the 2 free throws. So 40-34 is your score at the half. The Orange leading it by 6, Kyle. We'll take a look at the stats before we take a break here on Orange Heat, Kyle. But what are your just closing remarks on the half?
Well, when we look at the stats, you'll see that one of my keys to the game that hasn't really come to fruition for Syracuse is backcourt performance. Boeheim and Girard they're combining with only 9 points right now and 3 assists, and that is the 3 assists of really everyone for the Syracuse squad. Only one more assist outside of that from Quincy Guerrier. So you need to see a more well-rounded performance out of them. Girard had, I believe, 20 plus points in that last game against Miami, but can't seem to put back-to-back games of high scoring bouts. So you need to see a more consistent offensive effort out of him. Initially, a guy who was driving well early in the game and really a good playmaker for us, considering he leads Syracuse with assists. With that being said, you need to see a more well-rounded performance from them. For VTech, in order to kind of claw their way back, you have to remember what they did every time they went on those runs. Their defensive effort was more consistent, and they didn't allow Syracuse to penetrate. Syracuse, a team who isn't necessarily finding so much success from the three-point line, so if they kind of play defensively in similarity to Syracuse and kind of force them to shoot from outside, I believe they'll find more success.
We have ourselves one great ball game. That's fantastic analysis out of you, Marchak. You're the best at it, so thank you so much. Looking at the box score here for Virginia Tech, who currently have 34 points on the board. Leading the way is Naheem Aleem by a large margin. 17 points right now for the Hokies, shooting 5 for 12 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3. Also has 3 rebounds and an assist. Coming up, tallying behind him with just 6 points is Tyrese Radford. He's 2 for 2 from the field, 1 for 1 from the three-point arc with 3 rebounds and 1 assist. Couple of guys with 4 points right now for the Hokies. Couture's got 4. He's 1 for 2 from the field, as well as 1 for 2 from the three-point arc. And Justin Mutz has 3 points on the inside, a combined of 34 points. The team's shooting 35% from three-point and 34.4% from beyond the arc. And now we take a look at Syracuse leading the way, and this is a lot more of spreading the wealth you'll see in this stat sheet on the box score. Marek Dolezaj leads the way, 14 points, 4 rebounds. He's 4 for 6 from the field, and that's a great response out of Dolezaj, I'd say, Marchak, considering he was 0 for last game. Really a response out of the senior from Slovakia.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to mention no fouls just yet for Dolezaj. So really an outstanding performance thus far. A guy who, because of the position he's been put in, is a person who really falls into foul trouble far too often. But right now, super well-rounded and offensively has looked fantastic thus far.
Dolezaj has 9. He's 2 for 6 from the field with 5 rebounds. Well on his way to another double-double for the double-double machine in a white and orange jersey. Buddy Boeheim, 7 points. He's 3 for 7 from the field, 1 for 2 beyond the arc, 2 rebounds and an assist. Girard has 2. Alan Griffin has 4. And off the bench, Kadari Richmond also has 4. Jesse Edwards has played some minutes in the game and hasn't been active yet in the box score. We'll see how his production plays out. So we'll take a quick break here on Orange Heat. We'll be right back for the second half of action. Don't you go anywhere. Syracuse leading it over the Hokies at halftime, 40-34 inside the dome. Oh my goodness. Welcome back here on Orange Heat. We're inside the Carrier Dome live as the Syracuse Orange currently hold a 40-34 lead over the Virginia Tech Hokies at halftime. What a game it's been, and truly a game of runs here. Giovanni Heater alongside Kyle Marchak bringing you the play-by-play for today, and thanks so much for tuning in and spending your afternoon with us. Kyle, this has been a great game both ways. Virginia Tech has had their runs. Syracuse has had their runs. But the biggest thing that stands out to me is what Syracuse has been able to do down low inside the painted area.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've been much more well-rounded offensively. You know, one thing I noticed right off the bat for Syracuse is that our guard, Gerard, a guy who leans on his three-point shot but decided to drive a little bit more often. That's definitely died down as the half developed. So offensively, the playmaking has gone down a little bit, and instead we've relied on isolation plays from really Dolezaj has done well, and Guerrier, both of them drawing fouls on the inside. And offensively and defensively, we've seen Griffin getting the job done down low as well with a bunch of rebounding, 8 rebounds today, only 4 points. So really his defensive effort is what's kept Syracuse in this game. So Syracuse keeping themselves in it and really ahead of VTech thus far. Not necessarily expected. Of course, we have to imagine that maybe Aluma will start to wake up for VTech in the second half.
Now, leading the way in points right now for the Syracuse Orange is Marek Dolezaj, 14 points, 4 rebounds. He's 4 for 6 from the field. And what a response considering he had no points in the last go-around for Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's so humorous about basketball is really, even with the most consistent guys, you really never know who is going to be the person that is the game changer. Tonight, obviously, for Syracuse, it's definitely been Dolezaj, a guy who rarely leads in the scoring category, although he is a guy who can put together very good performances and really one of the more consistent people you could say on the team, although his foul trouble has changed that from times. And then for VTech, it's the same type of thing, but really a negative impact. Aluma, a guy who's supposed to be there consistently, and tonight, no points in the first half, and so statistically he's due for a really low-scoring bout tonight.
Marchak, I just want to take a minute and talk a little bit, let you touch upon this game. We talked about it, a little special for us considering Virginia Tech and Syracuse, you know, 2 of our top schools as far as our future holds for next fall. They both are fantastic institutions, and just really exciting to see them go at it on the court. It's a little tough, honestly, inside, because we've been following Virginia Tech. It's hard to know who to root for. Obviously, we're Syracuse fans our entire life, all the way, but it's pretty cool to see these 2 go at it, to say the least.
Yeah, and I mentioned it before, as a Syracuse fan, obviously it's tough to be a broadcaster of these games. I'm biased as a young man to like and dislike what's going on for Syracuse and vice versa for VTech. But I mention it all the time. You and I, just 2 kids chasing a dream, and I appreciate you having me on. And it's especially special tonight, considering the circumstance that you and I, 2 kids who are really torn between 2 universities who are so fantastic with their broadcasting programs, Virginia Tech and Syracuse, 2 universities we can certainly end up at next year. So with that decision coming up, it's just so fun to see the broadcasting teams in the Carrier Dome doing their thing. VTech and Syracuse, both squads that we would love to call for next year, either way.
And we'll probably know our decision sometime around, I'd say, at least by May at the very latest, because that's when you have to tell the schools if you're going or not. So I guess stay tuned for that, and it'd be really cool if we were roommates at wherever we go. Would be awesome. But if we end up at 2 different spots, that's how life happens as well. But very cool that we have the situation we're in. We're back to basketball, and we got a little carried away there because Virginia Tech, a quick points on the inside. It's Kave Aluma with a 2. And now Syracuse, only with a 4-point advantage. Now they get the ball for the first chance of the second half. And back to basketball we go inside the Dome. Buddy Boeheim, top of the key, off the screen from Dolezaj, 3-pointer. That one would have fallen and blown the roof off the Dome, but instead it rattles off the rim, no good. Tyrese Radford, other end of the court. Back to Justin Mutz, top of the key. He hesitates on a 3-point, doesn't let it fly. Naheem Aline now, back to Radford on the right side. Kick to Wabisa Beatty on the interior. Beatty using his pivot foot and decides to give it right back to Naheem Aline. Now it's Radford on the right side. The Hokies with 6 seconds left on their shot clock. Radford looking for a shot of the Hokies. Wabisa Beatty left side. Missed it all off the right side of the backboard, and out of bounds it goes. Mike Young just telling his team, hey, we got to find a better shot there. Really weren't able to get any penetration on Syracuse. Weren't able to find a shot. And that's great defense in the zone out of the Orange.
Yeah, if you have to wonder what the play calling was going on right there for VTech. Really stagnant off the ball, and Syracuse noticeably with a good defensive stand right there because they realized that that 3-point shot is doing so well for VTech that Girard and Boeheim kind of stepped up, and that backcourt was locked down on a lean for that possession. So a good stand by Syracuse right there.
Now it's Dolezaj for a deep two from the left wing, off the mark, rattled around, couldn't drop. 40-36 remains the lead for Syracuse, and Beatty running the point right now for Virginia Tech. Naheem Aline at the top, back to Wabisa Beatty. Now right side, Tyrese Radford. Over to Naheem Aline. Really unable to get any kind of penetration on this zone right now. They're just passing the ball around. Deep three for Aline, top of the key, off the mark. Guerrier stretches out for a rebound, and that's back-to-back great defensive possessions for the Orange. Alan Griffin with it for Syracuse. Dolezaj coming to set a screen. Now Guerrier with a screen as well. Griffin back to Guerrier. Guerrier a drive. Back to Griffin, top of the key. Three-pointer, and it hits. Syracuse is on a roll right now. Starting the second half just the way they ended the first. 43-36 the lead for the Orange. Under 17 and a half to play. That was a big shot out of AG, the Illinois transfer.
Yeah, fantastic ball movement right there. Cutting to the inside was Quincy Guerrier. Kicks it back out, and Griffin finished.
Finally, some penetration for the Hokies, as Mutz is unable to get it to go, but he is fouled by Dolezaj on the inside. 17:07 left to play here in the ball game. As we take a look at this replay, pump fake for Guerrier, a drive, and a kick out to Alan Griffin. That's textbook basketball right there. A little bit of draw and dump action, Marchak.
Yeah, absolutely. And they use all different variants of that, really, when they drive in and kick it out to the wing, as Girard was doing to Boeheim, his counterpart in the backcourt earlier in this game, although that's kind of died out. So it's good to see that Quincy Guerrier kind of taking command of the offense right here. And although from the top of the key he's making the plays, you can expect him to find more command of the inside as well for Syracuse.
So Justin Mutz now at the free throw line for Virginia Tech. Hits his first. Second one is in the air and drops. So 43-38, the lead for Syracuse by way of 5. 17:04 left to go here in the second half. Dolezaj at the top. Coming off the ball, trying to get there was Boeheim. Great defense out of Naheem Aline. A driving Girard, drawing contact on Couture. Can't get the floater to fall. Couture, a tough rebound, and here come the Hokies. Left side, a driving Tyrese Radford, tried to get it to Keve Aluma, and it looks like he steps on the out-of-bounds baseline, and Syracuse will take it the other way. Mike Young clapping his hands. If you're Mike Young, Marchak, what are you telling your team to keep them focused? You're only down by 5 here, but you can't let this game get out of hand as Syracuse really starts to tighten things up defensively.
Well, you have to imagine that the energy is pretty low right now, and because of that, the ball movement is kind of weak, and they've been really stagnant off the ball. So all the small things really is what I would be saying as Mike Young right now to ensure that VTech is really completely locked in right now.
Keve Aluma on the inside as Boeheim couldn't get one to fall on a rebound for the Hokies. A three-pointer, Naheem Aline off the back rim and out. Syracuse with a rebound and an effort to move the other way with it. Alan Griffin on the left wing. Tightly guarded here by Tyrese Radford. A spin move, a step back, and nothing but net. Alan Griffin back-to-back buckets for Syracuse, and those are big plays out of the Illinois transfer, Marchak.
Yeah, that's the type of shot you yell Kobe on. A little hezzy, rotate to his right, and that's not an easy shot from the elbow to hit.
And now here's Alan Griffin with a steal on the inside. It was Tyrese Radford trying to find Justin Mutz, and Griffin was there to get a hand in there, poke it away, and take it up the court. Alan Griffin, deep three, heat check off the back rim. And you have to think if there were fans there and he hit, the brand new roof of the Carrier Dome would have
shot. It would have been a different story.
Absolutely. That was a heat check, without a doubt, and I'm okay with him taking it. Hunter Couture, three-pointer off the right wing, no good. Rebound here for Tyrese Radford. Radford a take. What a move and what a dump for Tyrese Radford. That's a big play for the Hokies, and they needed that one, drawing it to within 5, under 15 minutes to go.
Yeah, Radford with that ball on a string right there, swung that thing around. Hopefully that'll get a swing for VTech right here.
Boeheim a three from the left side, off the mark, and will head the other way. It goes off the hands of Quincy Guerrier trying to reach for a rebound. As we take a look at this replay, Tyrese Radford slicing and dicing between the Syracuse defense. It's 45-40 inside the Dome. The Orange lead it with under 14 minutes to play, Kyle. And we have ourselves, again, just as good of a second half as we had a first half right now. Syracuse trying to keep their foot on the gas here. The defense has really tightened things up here on that end of the court.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Syracuse defensively has had a much better effort. You can tell that Boeheim really talking to a scout right there that they're giving up too many three-point shots. Think about it. Leading scorer for VTech right now, Nakeem Aline, who has been hot from three-point. He was 4 for 7 from the three-point line coming into this half, and now 4 for 9. And so that shows that from the 2 3-point shots that they've been leaning on thus far from Nakeem Aline, Syracuse's backcourt duo, Girard and Boeheim, have kind of stepped it up a little bit, understanding that the range will have to expand defensively in order to prevent that 3-point shot from falling.
Now the Orange here with a 5-point lead. Boeheim trying to keep his team to keep their foot on the gas. What is your best lineup right now if you're Syracuse keeping in the game? Do you keep Kaderi in there? He's got 3 fouls. Do you want Girard and Buddy in there? You want Jesse Edwards in there? Guerrier has to stay. He's a lock. Alan Griffin's playing good basketball right now. I guess what would be your most ideal mix to get optimal production offensively and defensively?
Well, honestly, looking at it, generally speaking, it would have to be really the starting lineup. Despite Boeheim's performance not necessarily being there and Girard, a guy who hasn't been scoring, you really do have to worry about those 3 fouls for Richmond. And so he's a guy you would save later until later in the game, With that being said, Griffin, a guy who offensively hasn't exploded as per usual, although he's due for a double-double, and defensively he's been locked down for Syracuse as well. Gary, a guy who would like to perhaps rebound and drop some more assists more, but also a well-rounded player and a key to this game thus far. And of course, Dolezaj, a guy who will have to stay on the court. No fouls with 14 points, not a stat line you see often from him coming into the second half.
Now, Virginia Tech on the other side, some good production out of guys. I think they have to find a way to get Keve Aluma going down low. He's such a staple of this Virginia Tech team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Aluma, he's definitely had his struggles on the inside, and that's needless to say, because the ball movement, you have guys like Beatty on the inside who kind of the centerpiece of that offense, turns around and uses that pivot foot to kind of find guys at the wing or kick it to the inside, a guy who obviously leads the team in assists with almost 3 a game. With that being said, a guy who really hasn't looked comfortable in that mid-range area tonight. He's played at the top of the key, isn't a fantastic shooter tonight. So without his offensive effort with dropping dimes, Aluma, a guy who's going to have to start making plays for himself. And tonight, really, with our defensive effort, especially with guys like Griffin, who sneaks in for blocks late, and of course, Dolezaj looking more solid than ever without any fouls thus far, and Jesse Edwards even having a little small defensive stand in the few minutes he's gotten, Aluma will continue to struggle tonight, a guy who really works well in the post, but not against the size of Syracuse. You have to remember that VTech, a team that has one of the better defenses in the ACC, if not college basketball, yet they're a smaller squad, actually one of the smaller teams in the ACC. Syracuse, a squad that, generally speaking, is always larger than their opponent.
And now we're back to basketball once again inside the Dome. Fantastic analysis by you, Marchak. Here's Keve Aluma, the spin move, and he just can't get that one to fall. Tough defense there by Marek Dolezaj as both teams chase after it. Will stay on this end of the court. Last touched by Alan Griffin along the baseline, and Virginia Tech dodges a little bit of a bullet there. Down 5, they need a bucket. Hunter Couture on the left side. Under 14 and a half to play here. Jalen Cone, top of the key now, running the point for Virginia Tech. Back to Couture on the right side. Now Cone inside Keve Aluma. He finds Justin Mutz, and Mutz kisses it off the glass. That's a good bucket for Virginia Tech, and man, did they need it. 3-point ball game. 14-11 to go, and there's that ball movement you wanted to see, Kyle.
Yeah, absolutely. Mutz just looked way more calm on the ball coming from the baseline and cutting to the rim, and they'll continue to do that tonight.
Dolezaj goes up for a deuce, and he is fouled. So Marek Dolezaj will head to the free throw line for Syracuse as we take a look at this pretty pass from Keve Aluma to Justin Mutz, who goes up and under the reverse layup. Dolezaj a chance to make this a 2-possession ball game again at the charity stripe. First one's up and good, so the lead extended back to 4 for Syracuse. 14:02 left to go, and now some substitutions on the floor taking place for Virginia Tech. Worth noting as well, Cartier Jada, who was a very big part of this basketball team, I'd say, off the bench throughout the early part of the season, especially in that win against Villanova at the Mohegan Sun in Bubbleville. He actually decides to opt out throughout the rest of the season at this point. So he's not in the lineup for Virginia Tech, hasn't been in a couple of weeks, but just worth noting and interesting to say the least. Another kick to the inside, another bucket for the Hokies. This time going up for the two, it's the man David Nagasin, and that's his first time to be in the game so far in the second half.
Yeah, Nagusin, hopefully a guy who stays in the court. Although the foul trouble has come, he's been more solid offensively, a guy who's not afraid to come off that baseline and score as well, which is something you see often in VTech's game plan.
Guerrier a drive off the rim, no good. Rebounded Justin Mutz, and here come the Hokies down three. Three-pointer, Jalen Cohn, left side, off the rim, no good. Tight defense down low, and an off-the-ball foul. It's over the back against the Hokies against Nagusin. And Merrick Dolezaj, there he is, hitting the deck. He is very well known for taking some hits in some Syracuse basketball games.
Yeah, I mean, you're glad to see that smile put back together after a rough game only a week or so ago. And so he's looking real confident on the court tonight. And as I mentioned, not often you see a guy like him without any fouls thus far. And it's stayed that way almost 3/4 of the way into this game. So that's definitely been a huge key to the game. We need him at the center position, although he isn't really a true center. We just need him defensively, and his offensive effort has really been fantastic tonight.
And another stoppage of play here. The lead for Syracuse, 3 points, 47-44. 13:06 left to go here on the clock. Nagusin has 4 personal fouls here. Syracuse trying to stretch the lead, already up 3. Inbound to Boeheim, 19 seconds left on the shot clock. Plenty of time if you're Syracuse. Really tight defense at the top by Naheem Aline. Over to Dolezaj on the right side. Dolezaj a cut to the basket, a floater, and it doesn't fall. And now Guerrier an offensive rebound and puts it off the glass and in. What a play by Guerrier. But really, if you're Dolezaj, that's a smart play because he's going right at Nagusin, who already has 4 fouls, and he knows he has that advantage because Nagusin has to be careful.
Yeah, and now another foul called in the defensive stand for Syracuse. So that's going to be trouble, especially with guys like Griffin, who's gotten into a little bit of foul trouble thus far. He has 2. That'll make it 3 if it was called on him, although it looks like it was Dolezaj right here.
So that means Tyrese Radford checking out of the game, or actually maybe into the game, but at the free throw line. Actually, no free throws. Sorry about that. And an inbound here. No bonus just yet. Still 12 and a half minutes to go here in the first half. Syracuse and a piece in the second half. Syracuse leads it 49-44. And Hunter Couture turns the ball over here. Steal for Buddy Boeheim. They slow things down. Dolezaj on the left side. And Syracuse starting to not run away with it here, but a comfortable lead here with not too much left. 12-16 to play. It's still anybody's ball game, but the Orange are playing real good offensively and defensively.
Yeah, you would hate to jinx them. I mean, we've seen it in their first loss of the season against the 25th ranked Rutgers, where they were holding on to a decent lead, but eventually Rutgers ran away with it. So often you see Syracuse, the team that can really kind of lose their development down the stretch.
And here's Alan Griffin, a drive to the inside, a bucket, and Syracuse with a 51-44 lead over the 16th-ranked Virginia Tech Hokies. Under 12 minutes to play inside the Dome, and the Orange will not take their foot off the gas right now. Hunter Couture at the top. Girard streaks out for a steal. Girard trying to take it to the tin, a reverse layup off the window, and the Orange are up 9, 53-44, 11:38 to play.
Yeah, Girard with a huge defensive stand right there, getting away with the steal and a little bit faster than usual, too, to the tin and reverse layup. What a finish from Girard, a guy who doesn't drive that often. That really displays the athletic ability of that young man right there.
Timeout, Mike Young and the Hokies. The Orange lead it by 9. Under 12 minutes to go in the ball game. And Syracuse starting to run away with it a little bit, Marchak. Their biggest lead of the game, not taking their foot off the gas. What do you think Mike Young's telling his team right now?
Well, obviously, this team really sporadic right now, the defensive end of the court, kind of letting these guys get to him and really getting a little too handsy. You've seen that with Ngusen, a guy who will probably be drawn to foul another person again. They want him off the court because he's been consistent for them. Only 6 points, but he's been rebounding and dropping assists. He's kind of well-rounded for them. 3 for 4 from field goals. So, if he continues to make more shots, he'll probably continue to, separate for VTech and maybe claw their way back. If you think about the stands that they've made, he's been on the court for them. With that being said, Mike Young will probably have to calm this team down and get them to, again, have a consistent defensive effort. One of my keys to the game for them, and something you don't see too often from them in their losses or their off games. A team that's so highly ranked, you really have to find them on an off day in order to find success, and it seems like it's that type of day tonight, especially without Aluma's presence on the court.
Now, Syracuse wanting to keep their foot on the gas. And I've said it for the last 10 minutes or so, but that's because Syracuse has had the lead. They kept the lead coming out of the locker room for the second half of action. And again, they just continue to force the opposition both offensively and defensively, playing fantastic basketball, I must add. So if you're Syracuse, what is Jim Boeheim telling his team right now? Because the last thing you want to do is lighten up. I can tell you right now, I've watched a lot of Virginia Tech basketball this year, and I know you have as well. They have the capability to come back and beat anybody. And Syracuse has given up leads this year as well. So what do you think Jim Boeheim's addressing his team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great question because Boeheim, a guy who is so conservative as a coach, likes to slow the game down when he can. But I really just don't think, as you alluded to, can afford to do that as a Syracuse player right now. VTech, as you mentioned, a team that is capable of grabbing it and running away with it. And I think that's exactly what Syracuse should try and do right now. With a 9-point lead, that's certainly enough cushion to continue to push and hope that VTech doesn't push back. And so obviously foul trouble on both sides of the court for these teams, and that'll come into play. But for now, teams just need to continue to play with aggression, especially Syracuse on the offensive side of the court.
So it's a 9-point lead for the Orange. 53-44 is your score. With 11.5 to play, Virginia Tech with the ball, 20 seconds on the shot clock. Will be Sabiti back into the game for the Hokies, running the point. Over to Tyrese Radford, top of the key. Now Naheem Aline, back to Radford, right wing. Aline at the top, Radford on the right wing, and this is what they do. They share the ball. They're wasting a lot of clock here if you're Virginia Tech. Will be Sabiti, 3 seconds left on the shot clock. Radford has to chuck one up, rattles around, doesn't fall. It was this close to being a big three-pointer that the Hokies desperately needed. Instead, it's Syracuse with the possession. Boeheim a drive, a pull-up from the ACC logo, off the front rim and out. Offensive rebound, Dolezaj, deep three, Boeheim off the mark. And settling things down are the Virginia Tech Hokies, but now they move quick up the left side of the court over to Beatty. And we'll get a travel call against Virginia Tech on Tyrese Radford.
Yeah, Radford dribbling up the court, kind of large for his position, so perhaps that athleticism is lacking at his size, and a guy who also, similar to Beatty, has been fed to the inside to create more plays, and now down the court couldn't make the stretch right there. I think in that play, just because hands are all over the place in this long Syracuse squad, kind of got hindered trying to toss that ball over with his left hand and then trying to switch it to his right. So got his feet caught up, and that kind of shows that Syracuse's defensive effort has been so fantastic, even in transition, which isn't something they necessarily have had struggles with, but good to see that they are continuing their success right here.
So if Syracuse could pull off this win, this would be a resume builder for the ages for Syracuse, because they desperately need a game like this to get them back into this NCAA tournament conversation after a couple of bad losses. They're 2-3 in conference play. They are 8-4 on the season. And again, they just needed this game. You have a matchup against the Virginia Cavaliers coming up next on the docket for Syracuse. If you could win back-to-back games against really dominating the state of Virginia, Syracuse is right back into the conversation of being an elite team. Right now, they're about 46th in KenPom rankings. This is a quad one victory against the Virginia Tech squad. So this is a game for Syracuse that could really define a season.
Yeah, I mean, this is really a massive game, and I think any game of this caliber will continue to be like that down the stretch for Syracuse, a team that is often found on the bubble of the NCAA tournament, and really right now, not even in that conversation because of recent losses. Pittsburgh has had a hell of a performance against them, and 2-3 in their last 5 games, 2-3 in conference play per se, and so they really need to just pick up their performance in general. And so a win over number 16 VTech, which isn't just your average ranked team, they have some seriously skilled players, especially when Keve Aluma is playing to his peak performance, it's a team that deserves all the respect they get. Beating 3 of the 3 ranked teams that you play is not an easy feat, and VTech, a team that perhaps could be ranked higher than they are right now. So this would have massive implications for Syracuse's resume going forward.
Virginia Tech started the game 5 for 10 shooting the 3. Since then, they are 1 for 13 from three-point land, and that's why Syracuse, a big part of why Syracuse has this lead right now over the Hokies. They can't seem to get that lid off the bucket enough to make this a close game. And again, I'll go back to it. Keve Aluma has to find it in him to get going because he is that one mismatch, it seems, but really it hasn't been a mismatch tonight. Syracuse has figured it out, but on paper, it looked like it should have been a mismatch inside. Dolezaj turns it over here. Hunter Couture streaks out for the steal as we're back to basketball. 10.5 to play inside the Dome. The Orange, a 53-44 lead over the Hokies. Justin Mutz to Aluma on the inside. Lets a 2 fly. Dolezaj hand in the face, and Alan Griffin a rebound. Aluma cannot hit tonight. He's struggling inside the Dome, to say the least. Girard a drive. Tight defense. And he's fouled by Justin Mutz. Man, what a take by Girard. I don't think I've seen him go with that much confidence to the tin in his entire career.
Yeah, you have to wonder exactly how much the leadership of really his counterpart in Buddy Boeheim and his coach in Jim Boeheim have kind of applied to him. You know, a kid who's really struggled to drive, perhaps because of his lack of size. I can't say it's a lack of athleticism because this kid is extremely athletic, although maybe he just doesn't give himself the credit for it. At 6'1", it's going to be hard to drive and finish at the rim in college basketball. But if you think to recent history for Syracuse, we've had guys like John Gillen who wasn't afraid to finish inside. He was barely 6 foot. So you have to think about how much the athleticism comes into play, and Girard, a guy who's fully capable, yet chooses not to drive often enough.
Nagusin pulled out of the game for Virginia Tech, and Girard with a big block, but they'll say he got the arm of Nagusin and a foul. He puts his hands up. What a play that would have been if your short point guard swats the center in the ball game, essentially. I mean, right now you have Nagusin playing in for Aluma, who just got pulled out of the game. He's playing at that 5 spot. So Virginia Tech really in a similar situation when Aluma's not in the game. Nagusin's listed as a forward, and he stands right now 6'9", 205, a freshman. That's pretty much the same build of his counterpart on the other end, Marek Dolezaj. And
if I'm not mistaken, did he just airball that free throw?
I believe he did. Missing it all that time was Nagusin.
So, some players really just not on their game tonight, and that's something you can expect with such a highly ranked squad is really how much the consistency comes into play, and I've been saying that all night. A consistent defensive effort is so important for VTech's performance tonight.
He hit the second free throw. 54-45 is your score. Alan Griffin, a cut to the basket, and he gets the floater to go off the feed from Marek Dolezaj. 56-45. It's an 11-point lead for the Orange. 9:36 left to go in the game, and Syracuse cannot be stopped. Hunter Couture on the right side. Great pump fake. Shook Guerrier out of his shoes. Just couldn't hit the 3. Now Virginia Tech 1 for 14. Griffin a slam on the other end of the court. And 58-45 is the score. Under 10 minutes to go. Syracuse running away with it big. Their largest lead of the night.
Yeah, hopefully VTech, who's obviously struggled offensively, won't change up their game too much because that would certainly make it easier for Syracuse. But you have to wonder exactly what changes they'll make.
Justin Mutz, a bucket on the other end of the court. A nice spin move, a body up against Guerrier. Got it to fall. Syracuse back to an 11-point game with 8:52 to play. Boeheim hits Guerrier. Guerrier 3 from the right wing, and it rattles home. Quincy Guerrier hitting that thing all the way from Oswego. And the Orange with a 61-47 ball game.
Or from Canada, for that matter, back in his hometown, right?
Very true. Just across Lake Ontario, you would find yourself in Canada.
Yeah.
And a cut to the inside. It's Virginia Tech who will head to the free throw line here. And Nagusin was the one to put up the shot. But Syracuse really just starting to put the nail in the coffin, I would say, that three-pointer from Guerrier was. Nagusin played pretty good tonight. 7 points, 3 for 4 from the field, and misses that free throw off the back rim. 8:28 left to go in the ball game. Again, your score 61-47. Nagusin's second free throw now at the line is up and off the rim and good. Okay, so Nagusin goes 2 for 4 so far at the charity stripe in the last couple of minutes. Gerard now running the point for Syracuse. We have not seen many of the bench guys so much tonight. Not a lot of Kaderi tonight, not a lot of Jesse Edwards. Your starting lineup in the game for Syracuse. Guerrier a drive, tight defense for Mutz. Guerrier puts it up, and he will head to the free throw line as well. Foul on the floor by Justin Mutz. Guerrier will shoot 2 from the charity stripe, and he's done that so well this entire year. Guerrier back at the charity stripe. His 4th trip tonight. Guerrier's free throw is good. And that's another thing he's done, Marchak. He's really tightened things up from the free throw line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's just, like I said, a guy who is certainly in the run for most improved, if that is an award in the ACC, and a kid who's really just developed all parts of his game. It was obvious when he came in that he played more like a big guy. You can imagine that's something common for a kid of his size coming out of high school. You're almost always going to be a center in your high school squad if you are 6'8". And so with that being said, he developed a 3-point shot ever since he came to Syracuse. It just took a couple of years. And now that he has that jump shot, he's just such a well-rounded player to watch.
Only a sophomore. Incredible. Kick to the inside. It's Tyrese Radford unable to get it to go. Syracuse's lead remains 63-48. Under 8 minutes to play with about 7:55. Dolajai at the top. Kick to Guerrier on the inside and just let that man eat. Guerrier, the candy man. A spin move. A 2 up. Rattles around home. Quincy Guerrier is an elite basketball player, Kyle.
Yeah, that ball just keeps falling for him. So tall, and he has such a great touch around the rim for a guy of his size.
It's Alan Griffin with a block on the inside on the other end of the court. Here comes Syracuse. Lob to the inside for Joe. Guerrier's there. And another 2 for Quincy Guerrier. He is on fire. Flex your muscles, big fella. Number 1, having himself a day on Jim Boeheim's court.
I mean, the touch is just angelic on the inside right now for Guerrier. He's certainly feeling himself, and imagine he starts taking shots from the outside too. This young man is unstoppable.
67-48 is the lead for Syracuse. Here's Hunter Couture, a drive off the rim, no good, and a blocking foul against the big man, Quincy Guerrier. Marchak, just like this, you blink, Syracuse is almost up by 20 points right now, leading by 19 with 7 minutes to go.
Yeah, you have to imagine what the run is right now. I mean, like I said, it's a battle of attrition back and forth on the defensive side of the court. And right now, VTech just not giving them a good stand, letting them penetrate to the inside. And right now, you shouldn't let Guerrier get even remotely close to the paint because his touch is really hot right now. And that's why I'm saying, imagine he starts taking shots from the outside too. It's certainly likely if VTech starts to make a defensive change right now.
Guerrier is taking over the basketball game, and that's not even saying it lightly. He has been sensational offensively and defensively in the last couple of minutes here inside the dome and flexing his muscles, having himself a grand old time on Jim Boeheim's court. This is a big win for Syracuse if they can hold on throughout the next 7 minutes. We've talked about it, how much it could mean. Now you have Virginia coming up after this one. It's all of a sudden an exciting season. That's what the Orange typically do to us. They'll let us down, and then just like that, they get a big win, and everyone has hope once again. So,
oh yeah, something you can expect being a Syracuse fan is really just a roller coaster of emotions. You call them Cardiac Cuse, and honestly, I think that might be the most fitting name. They might have to put that in the uniforms. That's the way they play, whether it's in a game or throughout a season. They certainly keep us on the edge of our seats, and really, that's just ACC basketball for you. VTech's such an exciting squad to watch, and really, as a Syracuse fan, I would like to think that perhaps they'll run away with it. But I know in the back of my mind as a broadcaster that VTech, a team that can certainly claw their way back into the game right now. So you have to wonder exactly what changes VTech and Syracuse will be making defensively, although Syracuse kind of preventing the penetration from VTech. And so making sure that their three-point defense has been awesome tonight has been a great change for Boeheim, as you've noticed in the second half. So Syracuse starting to run away with it a little bit right here. Absolutely.
And looking at the rest of the game, the last 7 minutes, just wondering what the lineup will look like. Obviously, Mike Young takes a much-needed timeout, but Quincy Guerrier having himself a fantastic basketball game. And I have watched a lot of Virginia Tech this year, and are they having a little bit of an off day? A little bit. Syracuse is playing fantastic basketball. Again, Keve Aluma I've not seen him play like this in his entire career so far at Virginia Tech, and it's only year number 1 for him with the Hokies. They're a very, very good team. So for Syracuse to win this game looks really, really good because Virginia Tech is going to find themselves in a very good spot come the end of this season.
Yeah, I mean, Virginia Tech, whether or not they win this game, almost pretty much a lock for the NCAA tournament. Whether or not they remain ranked, they just have too much talent on the squad and too many high caliber wins not to be considered. Even if they do go on a skid, they'll end up at least a bubble team, right? And that's just something you wouldn't see anyways. Syracuse, the team who's consistently on the bubble and really outside of it right now. This win would certainly put them back in the bubble, if not almost a lock. And if they continue to have success against ranked teams or high caliber teams like perhaps Duke has had not much success as they've wanted, but they were 19th ranked at the time that they lost to Virginia. So another common narrative in the ACC conference is really it's been flipped on their head. Kentucky and Duke not having as much success as they'd liked, and now Syracuse is a squad that can kind of replace their spots up top.
And Hunter Couture hit 2 free throws on the other end of the court. Look at Kadary Richmond with a bucket for Syracuse, and they just continue to throttle Virginia Tech at this point. 69-50 now the score. 6:35 left to go here in the second half of action, and Virginia Tech just needs all that they can get. Keve Aluma back in the game, and it's starting to be that time where it might be time to start shooting up some threes, but the problem is they've struggled doing so far this game, and that's been a big difference maker.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Aluma's lack of offensive ability in the inside tonight because of Syracuse's defensive effort kind of made them lean on the three-point shooting. And that's the thing is Nassim Aline, great three-point shooter in the first half. And actually, if you look at the numbers, still a decent game from the three-point line. But at the end of the day, they lean too much on it. And now that he is not doing well from the arc, you have to wonder exactly what VTech will turn to because none of it's working for him.
Aluma to Justin Mutz. He couldn't hit. Syracuse trying to pull down the rebound. Out of bounds it goes off the hands of the Slovakian hammer, Marek Dolezaj. So we'll stay on this end of the court, Virginia Tech's ball, and we'll see where they set the shot clock at. Right now it's at 0. Curious to see what they actually tack on here. 6:10 left to go in the ball game. Syracuse leading it 69-50. Shot clock with a fresh 20. Okay, there we go. 69-50 is the lead for the Orange. 6:10 in the ball game. 20 on the shot clock for the Hokies. And Tyrese Radford to inbound. Able to find Aluma back to Hunter Couture. Now Jalen Cone on the right side. Couture top of the key. Cone deep three right wing. And he hits. Jalen Cone came into this game the best shooter in the ACC from beyond the arc. And proving that he can still get it done. Just trying to claw his team back into this game. The lead for Syracuse, 69-53 at this point, under 6 minutes to play here in the second half. Dolezaj over to Kadary Richmond. Joe playing off the ball as well as Boeheim. Guerrier taking a seat on the bench, a well-deserved breather. Richmond a drive off the mark, and he's fouled with 5 seconds in the shot clock, so Richmond will shoot 2, Kyle. What are your thoughts on Guerrier off the court right now? And I kind of like the mix with the 3 guards.
Yeah, I think tossing all 3 of those kids in there, it could be a good dynamic offensively for Syracuse. Richmond, a guy who likes to be on the ball, really large at his position at 6'5", super long. He's certainly a fit at the 3 spot as well. Because of that, not necessarily a guy who drives really quickly, but instead likes to work in the post. So it's a good look for guys who can work off the ball a little bit better, like Joe Girard. You mentioned it before, Joe Girard, a guy who is actually fun to see in that 2 spot working off the ball with Boeheim handling it because he is athletic enough to be dynamic. And we saw in that play actually running around a little more dynamic than usual. So certainly a good look for Syracuse, giving Guerrier a rest.
Richmond hits both free throws. 5:20 left to go here in the ball game, and the Hokies need a response. Jalen Cone, pump fake, 3, off the mark, back rim and out. Girard stretches out for the rebound, and Syracuse 71-53 is the lead over Virginia Tech by way of 18 points. As we approach 5 minutes left to play here in the ball game, the Orange are dominating against the 16th ranked Virginia Tech Hokies right now.
Yeah, and as expected right now,
go ahead, Marchak.
I apologize. And as expected right now, Boeheim kind of slowing this game right now down so Syracuse can kind of walk away with it and tick time on the clock.
Kadary Richmond hitting a jumper, but Syracuse instead, it's a little too late off his fingertips. Shot clock violation. And you didn't want a shot clock violation there, but again, you mentioned it. They're just trying to kill some clock here. And looking at the replay, Yeah, I think it goes 0. Is it still in his hands? That's a fair call, but Richmond showing off the jumper, which is honestly impressive to me because he's struggled shooting the jumper so far this year, whether it's a 2 or a 3. His game's more defensively and getting to the inside. Feed from Aluma to Mutz. Mutz can't slam it down. Good closeout defense by Syracuse, and the game remains an 18-point ball game. 71-53 is the lead for Syracuse. 4.5 to play in the game. Dolezaj, top of the key. Tight defense from Justin Mutch. Dolezaj, a drive. And we'll get a foul, an offensive foul against Merrick Dolezaj, and Boeheim doesn't like it.
So Dolezaj kind of getting Dolezaj'd on that play right there. A guy who can really soak up fouls. Now he sees what it looks like. A person who doesn't drive that often, so it's not like he draws those charging fouls a ton, but himself, he can certainly, get the theatrics out and make that happen. And we've seen that a couple times on both sides of the court, which kind of shows that, the defensive effort has been fantastic. Both teams kind of making any play possible happen.
Naheem Aline back into the ball game for Virginia Tech, as well as Jalen Cone and Hunter Couture. You have your 3 best shooters in the game right now. And here's Jalen Cone, 3 from the right side, off the rim, no good. Rebound Boeheim, and Virginia Tech just cannot hit. Syracuse, great closing out defensively. Girard had a hand well in the face of Jalen Cone. Under 5 minutes to go, 3:44 left to go on the clock. They took off the scoreboard for a moment there. Girard over to Dolezaj on the right side, back to Alan Griffin at the top. Griffin with a spin move. He'll drive to the bucket. Nearly gets the ball poked away. 3 for Kadary Richmond, and he hits. And that's not Kadary Richmond's game this season, but Syracuse loves it. The bench explodes.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows how well-rounded these young players are, all developing different facets of the game. You see it well with Guerrier, and then Richmond hitting a huge shot right there just as the shot clock was winding down.
And Virginia Tech can't convert on the other end of the court. The lead now for Syracuse is 21, 74-53. 3 minutes to go here in the ball game, and they're leading over the 16th ranked team in the country. I'm shocked, Kyle. And a feed to Dolezaj. The Orange just will not stop scoring. Dolezaj with the easy 2 off the assist from Kadary Richmond, and 76-53 is your score. 23-point lead by the Orange. This is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, really just a kind of a chip on the shoulder for these guys, all just with such a stingy defensive effort. And these guys do not let up for Syracuse tonight. And no wonder, they're going to walk away with this game with more than just a 1-point favorite. ESPN had something interesting to say about this game, calling it in the favor of Syracuse. Many doubted that in the first place, yet Syracuse walking away with it with perhaps a larger lead than just 1 point.
And we'll get a timeout on the floor by Mike Young and the Virginia Tech Hokies. Marchak, we'll take a quick 30-second break here on Orange Heat. Don't go anywhere. The Orange with a massive lead over the 16th ranked team in the country. This is live play-by-play of Syracuse and Virginia Tech right here on Orange Heat. Welcome back here on Orange Heat. Giovanni Heater with you alongside Kyle Marchak. And Marchak, it's been a good one here today if you're a Syracuse fan. If you're a Hokie fan, not so much. The Hokies trail the Orange by a huge margin, over 20 points at this point. And it's really been a second-half game for Syracuse. This is very similar to the Pittsburgh game that Syracuse played a couple of weeks ago, in which they lost because game was very close at halftime. Actually, Syracuse was leading. Virginia Tech wasn't leading at half in this situation. But then Pittsburgh just completely dominated the second half and pulled away. Right from opening tip of this ball game, Syracuse has been playing good basketball. It was close a lot of the way. It was a game of runs in the first half, back and forth. Virginia Tech would go on a 9-0 run. Syracuse would go on an 11-0 run, whatever the case may be. Then the Orange started to separate before halftime, and then coming out in the second half, it was just all flames ahead. The Orange with a huge lead at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it in that Pittsburgh game, kind of a similar narrative, although against Syracuse. You saw it in that Pittsburgh game, it was something like 60 plus points dropped in that second half for Pittsburgh, who just
Yeah.
absolutely ran away with it compared to the only, minuscule of 30 something points for Syracuse. Meanwhile, vice versa for Syracuse against VTech, 40-34 coming into the halftime. And then, of course, in the second half thus far, is 36 points in the second half for Syracuse to the only 20 dropped by VTech thus far. And that's really what creates such a large lead for Syracuse.
Marchak, you know what I can't wait for is that high school sports are back in the state of New York. Oh my goodness, February 1st, high-risk sports have the go-ahead, and that means hopefully I'll get to play some lacrosse in the spring, but that means you and I will be in the booth for some high school hoops coming up, as well as some other winter sports. And then into the spring, the football team's going to play at the end of February, early March, I believe, in the fall 2 season with the way that New York State really realigned everything. And then spring sports, I mean, it's just going to be stoked, and I'm excited for it. And I know you might be. It'd be very cool for you to call the lacrosse games that I'm playing in. And it's going to be an exciting spring, to say the least, if everybody stays healthy and we have some sports. But nonetheless, we're back to basketball here in the Dome. We'll get back to that. Naheem Aleem can't hit the baseline jumper from the right side, and Gary A pulls down the rebound. We approach 2 minutes left on the clock here inside the Dome. The Orange lead it by 23, 76-53 over the 16th ranked Virginia Tech Hokies. Kadary Richmond at the top for the Orange. Going up against Jalen Cone, fading away, gets the bucket to fall. What a game for Kadary Richmond so far today.
Yeah, it just seems like everything's falling for Syracuse right now. They have that touch around the rim and really all the small stuff in place for Syracuse tonight. And so it's been such a well-rounded game for them.
And now Virginia Tech, the other end, it's Tyrese Radford with the elbow jumper from the left side. It hits. 78-55 is the ball game lead for Syracuse. 131 left to go here in the ball game. And Kadary Richmond really just trying to dribble out the clock here. 17 seconds on the shot clock for Syracuse. And the fat ladies singing, Marchak, the Orange with a big top 25, top 16 win over Virginia Tech approaching here in the next minute, 13 seconds. 5 seconds in the shot clock. Boeheim, fadeaway jumper from the ACC with that coveted spin move off the mark. And here comes Virginia Tech. Gerard still showing the hustle. Almost reached out for a fantastic steal. You saw him slide like he was wearing Heelys down the middle of the court, but nonetheless, Virginia Tech keeps the possession alive. 12 seconds to go in the shot clock for Radford. Over to Hunter Couture, left side Aleem, and he hits from the left wing near the baseline. 3-point is good. 78-58. The Orange still lead it by 20. It is much too little, much too late for the Hokies. 35 seconds to go in the game. Shot clock not dead yet. 16 seconds on the shot clock, 29 on the game. Gerard at the top, off to Boeheim right side, and now at this point, next change of possession, shot clock will indeed be dead. 4 seconds on it for Syracuse. Kadary Richmond dribbles behind his back. Now a drive, a floater off the rim, no good, and out of bounds it will go. No foul called by the referee. Boeheim just saying, get to the other end of the court. Get down there.
Yeah, I mean, the refs been calling fouls all night, but really on this type of play, it's time to just hang up the whistle and let the boys play. 10 seconds to go, and VTech still giving them their best effort.
Absolutely here as the 2 falls. 5 seconds left for Virginia Tech. David Nagusin gets one to go. 3, 2, 1, and that's all she wrote. Inside the Carrier Dome, Syracuse beats the 16th ranked Virginia Tech Hokies on their home floor, 78-60. Inside the Dome. Syracuse, a massive win here today, Marchak, and this could mean a lot as the season begins to progress and we really get to that later portion of 2020, 2021 as a campaign for this Syracuse squad. A lot of good things, both offensively and defensively. Held a very good team to only 60 points, scored a lot on them as well. What's your biggest takeaways tonight if you're Syracuse?
Well, Syracuse, just a much more well-rounded game. Defensively, they made the adjustments they need to. You notice in the first half, VTech staying in the game because they leaned on their three-point shot so well. Nassim Alina, guy who was shooting burning hot, almost time to take some heat checks really at times in those streaks for VTech. And meanwhile, Syracuse coming out in the second half, Jim Boeheim obviously talking to his backcourt duo. Defensively, they made a huge change, pushing them up a little bit towards the top of the key, preventing Nassim Aline from having the space he needs. He's certainly a guy who will feel comfortable shooting against shorter guards like Joe Girard, who's listed at 6'1", yet Girard with a much more stingy and dynamic defensive effort in that second half. And I think although his offensive performance wasn't massive, his more well-roundedness in this game was secretly a huge key for Syracuse tonight, but certainly some other faces we'll look at as we get to the stats afterward.
Absolutely. Again, your final score here today. Syracuse beats number 16th ranked Virginia Tech. Final score 78-60 inside the Dome. The lead was as big as 23 points in this contest, and it was a huge second half for Syracuse. Now, we'll take a look at some of the stats here in this game and a look at the box score. It was certainly a good one for Syracuse, Kyle, and who would you give your flame of the game to if you had to pick an MVP today for Syracuse? Before we take a look at the stats, who just really jumped out to you?
Well, I hate to be generic, but I think Quincy Guerrier's second half performance was just far too emphatic to not give him credit for it. Griffin, his defensive effort was certainly important to Syracuse's game and really helped keep him in it. And then, of course, Dolezaj's first half to kind of give him the spark was huge, although he only dropped 4 in the second half. And him staying out of foul trouble was awesome too, but really Guerrier's consistent performance throughout the entire game and then really breaking out in that second half is exactly what Syracuse needed in order to walk away with it.
So, looking at the box score here, Virginia Tech on the other side of the court, Kave Aluma held to 2 points, 1 for 10 from the field today. I mean, this is the worst I've seen Kave Aluma play this year, and I know he'll bounce back for Virginia Tech, but definitely a disappointing performance for the Hokie fans out there in Kave Aluma. Justin Mutz on the inside, 9 points, 3 for 5 from the field. And then you have Naheem Aline leading the way for the Hokies, 20 points, 6 for 17 from the field, 5 for 10 from the beyond the arc. Tyrese Radford, 10 points, 4 for 7 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3-point. Off the bench, Nagusin had 10 and 6 points out of Hunter Couture. Cone had a 3-pointer of his own. On the other side for Syracuse, Guerrier led the way. 20 points tonight, 9 rebounds and an assist. Marchak, he was this close to another double-double in this game, and you wish he almost pulled that down that last one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, averaging almost 18 points per game now, and of course, really up there for rebounds as well. He's almost averaging double figures. You like to see him get that extra rebound. Perhaps it'll boost his average, so he's averaging that double-double, right?
Absolutely. He's doing fantastic for Syracuse, and he's the MVP of the season for me so far, just because he's so consistent. Game in and game out, he's good for at least 8 rebounds and 10 points. I mean, he's fantastic. A lot of the times more than that. Dolezaj, 18 points today. He goes 5 for 9 from the field. Guerrier also went 1 for 2 for 3, 6 for 11 from the field, I might add, and an assist. Dolezaj also had 6 rebounds and an assist. And when Griffin, a quiet 15 points, going 1 for 3 from 3 and 7 for 11 from the field. Girard had 5. 0 for 2 from 3, but 2 for 5 from the field. Boeheim had 7, 3 for 13 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, and Richmond had 13 points. Now, Syracuse in this one, Richmond, 1 assist compared to his 8, and 1 rebound as well. No steals in the stat section for Kaderi Richmond. 3-point shooting today was not the strongest for Syracuse, but the way that they persevered and got the ball to the inside, changing their game plan for the second half, was nothing short of incredible coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Boeheim's adjustment defensively, as I mentioned, for that backcourt duo was huge in order to prevent those 3-point shots from falling for VTech. And then vice versa for VTech, who tried to change it up a little bit and prevent that penetration, but really Syracuse just continued to find ways to penetrate. And if not, guys were able to hit that 3-point shot, getting it off the lid. 31% tonight from the 3-point line. Not fantastic, but good enough, and better than the 26% from VTech. So huge numbers right there for Syracuse in order to walk away with the win tonight.
I couldn't agree with you more, Marchak. It's a fantastic win for the Syracuse Orange over the 16th ranked Virginia Tech Hokies. Any final words out of you, Kyle?
I'm just excited to see how this season develops. And really, this is exactly what you expect out of an ACC basketball game, as good as it gets.
Absolutely. This game meant a little bit more to both Marchak and I watching today, and put biases aside and got to work. Syracuse with a big win over the Hokies inside the Dome, 78-60, the final score. This has been a broadcast of Orange Sheet for Kyle Marchak. I'm Giovanni Heater as always, and we will see you next time.